Hey Brickmaniacs, welcome back to another Designer's Studio. We're taking a look at the Panzer IV today in winter camouflage, and I got Dan back in studio to talk about this. You've probably already seen, if you've been following this channel, we did the print shop episode for this because obviously it's pretty epic, but now we're here to discuss the designs. Although I do have to say, Dan, especially with the last couple of runs that we've had here for these German tanks, starting with the Panther, how much fun is it to be able to have this printing capability kind of at your fingertips if you really want to go all out?
Well, we didn't have this capability, so
right.
we really invented this as we went. So everything from the 3D printed mesh skirts, which it was all designed in-house, to the camouflaging, that's all new. We pushing the envelope. We have a really hard time, our printers have a really hard time printing on round surfaces.
We talked about that in that episode too, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a real challenge, just like first one, making the commitment to doing it, the decision, we're going to try this at all costs, and then actually following through and
seeing it work.
Yeah, and it works. And to the credit of our team, I mean, they pulled off a miracle. But it also shows that this can be done. It's just the amount of heartache and
research and
pain
development, so to speak,
and experimentation and time that's going to take to make this stuff happen. So these aren't going to be like, this isn't like the new standard.
Right.
This is the gold standard, but we can't possibly
do it all the time.
No, I mean, not yet.
But that's right, exactly. But it does make them, from a collector's standpoint, that's pretty awesome to see the envelope being pushed here and there, and then being able to get on it, even if it is just kind of for a limited situation. But for this one specifically, so did you already know that you wanted to go kind of this heavy on the extra details with the side skirts, or did that happen after you kind of started the redesign?
Well, I've always wanted to do, this is the J. We've always wanted to do some of these later, end of the war models of the Panzer IV. It's always been well, at least since 2008, it's been a hallmark of Brickmania. We've had a Panzer IV in the cans, ready to go since 2003. It took till 2008 to actually get it into a kit form. And they've been progressively getting bigger, better, not bigger, but more detailed.
More popular too, yeah, right.
And it's more affordable price point than, like, say, the Panther or the Tiger or like the bigger tanks are. So it's always been something that we roll out, but we wanted to do a premium version. We've always talked about it, and this was the final, okay, we're going to pull the trigger and do it. Get all the details. So it has all the details that I've worked in over the years, plus other designers, Jasta and other people who made influenced on the design process. So it brings in influences from all over the place. Plus, just going to town with the 3D printed parts. Camera guy did a fantastic job making those up out of thin air. Like, we looked at the plans, and we actually went and bought a scale model to make sure that we weren't doing this wrong.
Right.
So we could look at the pieces, look how they are actually attached to the real tank. We don't have one of these in our backyard. We can go take measurements on.
References are photos and then scale models. So regarding the custom elements, does that change how you build? When you know you're going to have to incorporate these things, and obviously there's a lot of clips working in here, does that kind of change your process, like from the very beginning, or what were you thinking there?
This was actually quite a breeze to do, and the reason I say that is because when we're 3D modeling something, we can say, hey, put a clip here, put a clip here, put a tab here that this is going to connect here, put a stud hole here, another connection, so that we can actually make the 3D part work. If we're making it from scratch, we can say, here's the connection we need, and that really saves a lot of time. When you're working with Lego parts, of course, you have a finite number of connection points. We've done Panzer IVs with armored skirts on the side before, but it's like a foot thick, for the scale. This is something completely different. We're able to actually just build the part and then say, we have this sort of connection. This is how it really works in real life. Now let's mimic it. And it was that's a really cool thing. And there's an un-Lego like dynamic to that, but I've been building this stuff for like 40 something years.
Sure. And
it's like, okay, there are limitations of the system. There are people that are going to be like, I want to be a purist and don't want to do this kind of thing. We've left that behind.
Sure.
12, 13, 14, 15 years ago. When we started doing this custom stuff, and we did a Panzer III with plastic,
the PVC side skirts.
Right, and it was sheet plastic. We printed it on our printers that we use for making
instructions. It looked good for the time too.
Oh, it looks great. And we were talking about doing that for this, and maybe if we do another one, say a different model with the solid skirts, we might go back to that.
Sure.
Just because it's affordable, it's easy, and it has that sort of more traditional Lego aesthetic, because Lego actually does like the ninja,
the sails and all that kind of stuff
too. Sails and wings for like flying machines and stuff like that. So that's more back into the more traditional Lego aesthetic. We are pushing that sort of die-cast model sort of vibe with this. So
You don't quite build a die-cast model brick by brick, though, so there's still the experience there to consider.
A high quality die-cast model maybe has 3 or 4 pieces you put on because you have to put the machine gun on the top or the antenna, or you screw it in. But that's sort of the aesthetic we're going for. We're like, we want to make this a premium model. You know, the criticism, oh, it's starting to look like a plastic model. Well, if you've ever built a plastic model and want it to look good, the time investment is hundreds of hours. And we wanted to be able to say, you can build something that has that sort of same, like, ooh la la, with dozens of hours.
Right.
If that even.
Yeah, like over a weekend, so to speak.
Yeah. So that was the aesthetic we're going for. That's the aesthetic we achieved, I believe. I mean, this turned out better than I had hoped.
Yeah.
And we didn't even print every surface. It's just the visible surface. You pull the side skirts off, the side of the tank is printed. It still looks good, but the fact that it has these extra pieces on here really, I mean, it just takes a model that was probably an 8 out of 10 to like a 9 out of 10 or close to a 10 out of 10. This is something we've never achieved before. Everything about it is just the next level.
Well, and if you've been following Brickmania and you're interested in kind of owning those milestone kits, those things when the envelope really gets pushed for the first time, this is obviously exactly one of those situations too. So there's a little bit of pedigree, not in just the model itself, but also in its relationship to Brickmania that I think makes that pretty cool. But let's talk about like the actual build itself. What did you be able to bring in new function-wise, whatever, when you got to take a crack at this build?
Well, I mean, there's certain things that we've done with the Panzer IVs over the years. The gun sticking out of the hull, that's nothing new. We designed that. That was 2008. We had the gun sticking out. When Will actually came up with, I think it was an MG 42. We didn't have a 34 yet, so that's nothing new. Using the candle pieces for the barrel. These are stock Lego pieces on this barrel. We were able to put them into our roller system on our printer. Don't ask me how they got something that small to not fall through and just get lodged in the printer, but they did it.
Yeah, it looks sharp.
It's a brick arms muzzle brake. We're incorporating brick arms elements as normal. It's become that's just what we do.
Yep.
Getting the 3D printed parts was the 3D printed parts. Getting all that stuff added on was just like that was the coolest part. Like seeing like, hey, let's do this. We talk about it, and then a day later we have a physical part in hand. And I don't think there was much futzing around. We didn't nail them on the first attempt, but they were
real close.
Yeah, and when we made our first set of screens, for example, I think it was just like we're going to move some clips around just so they fit better or they interlock better, or we can reduce the number of pieces by making a mirror image on left and right side. So, but I mean, this is a traditional Brickmania model. It doesn't have working suspension. It's basically one of those things like we're going to have to do some trade-off here. No,
what do you want?
There's zero interior, not a penny spent on interior detail because you can't see it. How would you get to the interior?
Right.
This is such a solid model.
You pretty much just need that top hatch, and then the printing takes care of the rest of the details.
So you have the commander's hatch, of course, because we have the commander with the tank. And this is just a fantastic minifig.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, pushing the envelope. Custom 3D printed headgear with printing on it, so it's like a double whammy there. And then this fantastic camouflage smock.
Well, when you talk about the ooh factor too, when people are like, "Whoa, what's that?" That's exactly one of those things right there.
Yeah, I mean the minifig itself is a work of art. It's a masterpiece. So you combine the two things, you just have like this is like a museum quality piece.
I would agree.
And the 100 people that were lucky enough to jump on it, that weren't scared away by it looks like a plastic model. Like, you're going to have a real piece to enjoy. This will be the centerpiece of your collection. Move over, Beffel's Panther.
There's a new king in town. That's awesome. Yeah, it definitely is one of those models that, like I said, is kind of a milestone piece for Brickmania and a cool thing to talk over. And like I said, it's just wild to look at and think about how far it's come from some of the original builds, that literally had stud showings to something like this. That's just, I mean, it's absolutely mind blowing. And like we've said in the past, when a bunch of designers, when they put their heads together and you get influences from the community, this is the kind of stuff you get to see when it all comes together. And that's, like you said, a cool part of the collection. So
yeah, and this is the culmination of what the people who are handing us their money month after month, week after week, say, we want this. We want more of this type of thing. This is what you get. We don't get people saying, hey, we want less. and then giving us money. No, that doesn't work that way. They just want something for free. We're like, we're going to push the envelope.
Keep pushing, keep innovating. I think that's definitely been what Brickmania has always been about. So there you have it, the Panzer IV in winter camo. Dan, as always, thank you for joining me, and thank you very much for watching.